world. My name is Amr Goma, and this is my final project for CS50 Introduction to Cybersecurity. The title is 23andMe Credential Stuff and Breach. I chose this because while people might be more aware or inclined to listen more to the flashy topics over social media when it comes to security breaches, like ransomware, uh, small and simple techniques really could do a lot of damage, like the one I'm going to present here with credential stuff. So, what is 23andMe? Well, they're a biotechnology company. They take DNA samples from customers along with other data that customers share with them, and they provide ancestry, as in the roots of someone, their ethnicity, their family history, and generate health reports, as in some health risks that might be associated with them based on their DNA analysis and other data like that. And it stores highly sensitive and personal and genetic information that, if leaked, could be a serious problem, as we're going to see here, because it unfortunately happened. So the attackers used stolen logins from other sites, as in typical credential stuffing, and tried them on 23andMe accounts and successfully broke into 14,000 accounts from 23andMe. It occurred from April to September of 2023, and it was confirmed officially by 23andMe in October of the same year. So how did the attack happen? Well, obviously, the victims used passwords across multiple websites. So the hackers had login credentials from previous leaks, uh, maybe some attacks that happened on some database on the web, and they took credentials that were available in that database and tried them on accounts and obviously successfully broke into 14,000 accounts from 23andMe. There was no two-factor authentication on the website, and it did not really have a strong system to detect abnormal login patterns, allowing someone to just try hundreds and thousands of trials to log into an account without any defense mechanism against such abnormal login patterns. So why was the impact so big? 23andMe was a large company. They were valued at $6 billion, and they had a client base of 14 million clients. So 14,000 accounts being hacked doesn't really sound that much. It's 0.01% of their client base. But the problem is they had this thing called DNA relatives tool. It's basically when someone's DNA matches another person, as in these two could be distant relatives. Well, the website allows these two to see uh, information about each other. So, someone like once the hackers or the attackers got into 14,000 accounts, they had data on 7 million users just by breaking into 14,000 accounts because of this DNA relatives tool. So this escalated the problem exponentially. And the data that got leaked are personal sensitive data, really, because genetic data being leaked could mean that someone out there could buy this data and use them to create bioweapons that target people based on their genetical structure or DNA analysis, which could be very dangerous. And we'd hope something like that never happens. So, how they could have prevented this? Well, they could have enforced unique uh, but other like the data leaks happened before. They could have bought data from these security breaches and ensured that whenever someone is creating an account, that they use passwords that do not match any of these passwords that were leaked before. They could have also enforced two-factor authentication to make the accounts much more safer. They could have limited the login attempts, as in after maybe 10 failed login attempts, they enforce some sort of defense mechanism like iPhone. Like if you try to log into you or open your iPhone using the password for 10 failed attempts, it tells you you have to stop and wait for 1 minute now. And this really increases the security of the website significantly. They could have also alerted their clients and sent them emails about strange login behaviors. And they could have just limited the exposure of relative data through the DNA relative, really, because this basically made most of their client base vulnerable to attacks, even though just 14,000 accounts got hacked. So, how did they respond? Well, they forced password resets for all their clients. They enabled two factor authentication for all new and existing accounts, and they temporarily disabled the DNA relatives tool. So all are good steps, but came in too late, unfortunately, because they had to pay a settlement of $30 million in the US. They were fined $2.3 million in the UK, and they eventually filed for bankruptcy in 2025 and got sold to TTAM for 305 million. So imagine they were valued at $6 billion, but after this breach, they were sold for just 305 million. So the lessons learned here for us users, we just have to create strong passwords and not repeat our passwords through multiple websites. And we have to be aware that one small feature can create a huge security hole, like the DNA relative. And we have to understand the importance of layered security, as I mentioned, rate limiting, login attempts, and things like that will create layers upon layers of security to make the website safer. And companies must design for user error. Companies cannot assume that their users will choose strong, unbreakable passwords. And final recommendations, as I said, always use websites, always enable two-factor authentication when it's available to you. Companies should build better default protections, and they have to educate their users, but don't depend on them alone. They have to do their part, and if the users cooperate and create different or create stronger passwords, that's a plus. But otherwise, their website or their system has to be secure and safe enough. Thank you, and I hope you like my presentation. And that's it for now.